Imagine waking up in a modern apartment where the first thing you see is not a gray parking lot or another wall of glass, but a green mountain rising beyond the balcony. The air is mild, the windows are open. Below, traffic has started moving. A cafe is serving its first cups of coffee, and the city is beginning another ordinary day. Nothing about this morning feels extravagant. Yet in many parts of the United States, a life like this would require a salary that keeps climbing, while rent, insurance, food, and transportation rise even faster. In Colombia, the same lifestyle can sometimes be reached with far less money. That is the idea attracting remote workers, retirees, and long-term travelers. Not extreme wealth, but affordable comfort. A larger apartment. A building with security, fresh food several times a week, restaurants that do not feel reserved for special occasions, short trips to mountains, colonial towns, or the Caribbean coast, more room in the monthly budget, and perhaps more room in life itself. But Colombia is not a financial fantasy land, and it is not one uniform experience. The country people imagine from social media is often built from a narrow collection of neighborhoods, apartment tours, and carefully framed sunsets. Real life is more complicated. Prices change from one city to another, and sometimes from one block to the next. A comfortable salary in a smaller city may feel average in the most international parts of Medellín or Cartagena. A furnished rental may cost far more than a long-term local lease. A budget that worked several years ago may no longer reflect what newcomers actually pay in 2026. To understand life in Colombia, you first have to understand its geography. Bogotá sits high in the Andes. It is cool, dense, fast-moving, and often cloudy. Medellín offers a different atmosphere. It stretches through a narrow valley surrounded by green mountains, with neighborhoods climbing the hillsides and transportation connecting trains, buses, and cable cars. Cartagena belongs to another Colombia entirely. The Caribbean heat is immediate. Colonial walls, bright facades, and ocean views make the city unforgettable. But the areas most familiar to visitors can also be among the least affordable. Cali has its own energy, shaped by heat, music, and street life. The coffee region moves at a slower pace, with smaller cities, green valleys, and a landscape far removed from the noise of the largest urban centers. This is why asking, how much does it cost to live in Colombia, is too simple. The real question is, what kind of life are you trying to build, and where? A person living with local habits can spend surprisingly little. A person recreating an American lifestyle with imported food, premium gyms, private transportation, and a furnished apartment in an expat district can spend several times more. Both may still pay less than they would in Los Angeles, Miami, New York, or Seattle. But they are not living the same Colombia. The strongest attraction is not that everything is cheap. It is that ordinary comforts can feel more accessible. In many Colombian cities, daily life happens outside the home. People walk to bakeries, buy fruit from neighborhood stores, meet friends in cafes, exercise in public parks, and spend evenings in plazas or restaurants. The social rhythm can feel more immediate and less isolated than life in car-dependent suburbs. Yet the word luxury needs to be used carefully. Colombia remains a country with deep inequality. What feels inexpensive to someone earning dollars may be expensive to the family living next door. A foreign resident can experience greater purchasing power without understanding the economic pressure local people face. So, this story cannot simply be about how far an American paycheck can stretch. It also has to be about what that money changes, what it cannot solve, and what a person gives up in exchange for a lower cost of living. This is life in Colombia in 2026. Not the postcard, not the warning label, the everyday reality in between. One of the biggest reasons Americans begin researching Colombia is housing. Across countless videos and social media posts, viewers see modern apartments with panoramic mountain views, rooftop pools, fitness centers, private security, and beautifully designed interiors that appear almost unbelievable compared to rental prices in many American cities. At first glance, it seems like a completely different financial reality. While someone in the United States may spend a significant portion of their income on a modest apartment, many neighborhoods in Colombia appear to offer far more space, better amenities, and a higher overall standard of living for considerably less money. But the reality deserves a closer look. Housing in Colombia varies enormously depending on the city, the neighborhood, and whether the property is aimed at local residents or foreign visitors. Medellín provides perhaps the best example. Neighborhoods like El Poblado and Laureles have become internationally known because of their cafes, restaurants, co-working spaces, and walkable streets. They also attract thousands of digital nomads, entrepreneurs, and retirees every year. As demand has increased, rental prices have followed. Apartments that once represented incredible bargains are now often priced specifically for international tenants willing to pay in dollars. Meanwhile, only a few minutes away, entirely different neighborhoods offer lower prices, but fewer international conveniences. The buildings may be older. English may be far less common. Public transportation remains excellent, but daily life feels much more local. Someone who is willing to adapt, learn Spanish, and embrace Colombian routines can often reduce their housing costs dramatically compared to someone searching only in neighborhoods popular on YouTube. Bogotá presents another contrast. As the nation's capital and financial center, it offers every type of housing imaginable. Luxury high-rise apartments stand next to older residential buildings. Some districts resemble business centers found in North America, while others maintain a quieter, residential character filled with parks and local businesses. The cooler climate also changes the feeling of everyday life. Instead of permanent spring weather, residents experience chilly mornings, frequent rain, and evenings that often require a jacket. Cartagena creates a completely different experience again. Living inside or near the historic center provides immediate access to colonial architecture, restaurants, and Caribbean beaches, but tourism drives prices significantly higher. Residents who move farther from the most visited areas usually find better value, although they sacrifice some of the convenience that makes Cartagena so attractive to visitors. The idea of affordable luxury is not only about the apartment itself, it extends to everything surrounding it. In many Colombian cities, a modern residential building may include 24-hour security, shared workspaces, children's play areas, swimming pools, gyms, and beautifully maintained gardens. Features that often require luxury-level pricing in the United States can sometimes be found in middle-market developments aimed at professionals and families. For many Americans, this changes the entire calculation of daily life. Instead of paying primarily for housing, they begin paying for quality of life, a secure building, less commuting, better weather, access to cafes within walking distance, public parks filled with people instead of empty parking lots. The apartment becomes part of a neighborhood designed for everyday living rather than simply a place to sleep after work. However, housing costs are only one piece of the financial puzzle. Utilities, internet, building maintenance fees, and private parking all contribute to the monthly budget. Some apartment buildings include several of these expenses, while others do not. Imported appliances, premium furnishings, and luxury developments can quickly increase monthly costs. Foreigners who insist on reproducing every aspect of their American lifestyle often discover that imported groceries, international restaurants, and specialized products remain expensive regardless of the country. There is also a broader social discussion surrounding the growing popularity of Colombian cities among foreign residents. Higher international demand has contributed to increasing rents in some neighborhoods, creating tension between local residents and newcomers. While a foreign salary may comfortably support higher rental prices, many Colombian families cannot compete with international purchasing power. Cities such as Medellín have seen growing debates over gentrification, short-term rentals, and the long-term impact of digital nomad migration on local housing affordability. Understanding these dynamics is essential because living responsibly abroad requires more than simply finding the cheapest apartment. It requires recognizing that every housing decision exists within a larger community. Ultimately, affordable luxury in Colombia is real, but it is not automatic. It depends on choosing the right city, selecting the right neighborhood, understanding the local market, and adapting expectations instead of trying to recreate an American suburb thousands of miles from home. If housing is the biggest monthly expense, then everyday living is where many newcomers begin to notice the real difference. The cost of life is not determined by rent alone. It is shaped by hundreds of small decisions made every week. Buying groceries, commuting to work, eating at restaurants, paying for internet, going to the gym, meeting friends for coffee, or simply enjoying a weekend without constantly calculating every dollar spent. In Colombia, many of these ordinary experiences can feel significantly more accessible than they do in many American cities. Walk through a neighborhood supermarket early in the morning, and you will immediately notice something different. Fresh tropical fruit is everywhere. Mangoes, papayas, pineapples, avocados, bananas, and countless seasonal fruits fill entire sections of the store. Local vegetables, fresh bread, and Colombian coffee are widely available and often become part of daily routines rather than occasional treats. Shopping locally instead of relying on imported products allows many residents to stretch their budgets while maintaining a varied and healthy diet. Restaurants also play a larger role in everyday life than many Americans might expect. Instead of reserving dining out for birthdays or special occasions, it is common for families, co-workers, and friends to meet regularly at neighborhood cafes or local restaurants. Lunch menus offering soup, a main course, juice, and dessert remain popular across the country, providing full meals at prices that many visitors find surprisingly reasonable compared with restaurant prices in the United States. Coffee culture deserves special attention. Colombia is one of the world's most famous coffee producers, yet daily coffee drinking is less about luxury and more about routine. Small cafes exist on nearly every block in many cities. Professionals stop for a quick espresso before work. Students gather with laptops during the afternoon. Retirees spend hours talking with friends. These cafes become extensions of the neighborhood itself, creating a social atmosphere that many newcomers quickly grow to appreciate. Transportation also influences the overall cost of living. Medellín operates one of Latin America's most respected public transportation systems, combining metro lines, buses, cable cars, and tram services into a network that connects large portions of the metropolitan area. Bogotá relies heavily on its extensive bus rapid transit system, while taxis and ride-sharing services remain widely available in most urban areas. Although traffic congestion can become frustrating during peak hours, many residents find that transportation expenses remain considerably lower than owning, insuring, and maintaining a private vehicle in the United States. Healthcare is another category where many foreign residents report substantial savings, especially when compared with paying out-of-pocket medical costs in America. Colombia has developed modern private hospitals and specialized medical centers in major cities such as Bogotá, Medellín, and Cali. Many doctors have received international training, and private consultations are often available much sooner than patients might expect in other healthcare systems. Nevertheless, quality varies depending on the provider, the insurance plan, and the region. Rural communities naturally have fewer specialized services than the country's largest metropolitan areas, making location an important factor for retirees or anyone managing ongoing medical conditions. Reliable internet has become equally important as more professionals choose to work remotely. High-speed fiber connections are now common throughout the major cities, allowing remote employees, freelancers, and business owners to maintain international careers while living abroad. Co-working spaces have expanded rapidly, particularly in Medellín, where entire communities have formed around entrepreneurs, software developers, and digital nomads. Coffee shops frequently offer dependable Wi-Fi, and many apartment buildings are specifically designed to attract long-term remote workers. Yet, lower prices should never be confused with a completely stress-free financial life. Inflation affects Colombia just as it affects every other country. Exchange rates fluctuate, sometimes making the cost advantage stronger and sometimes reducing it. Imported electronics, international brands, and specialty goods often carry noticeably higher prices than locally produced alternatives. Someone attempting to maintain every aspect of an American consumer lifestyle may discover that the savings disappear much faster than expected. The smartest long-term residents usually adapt instead of resisting local habits. They shop where Colombians shop. They eat local food. They use public transportation when practical. They learn which neighborhoods offer the best value instead of simply following online rankings. Most importantly, they recognize that quality of life is rarely determined by spending more money. Instead, it often comes from reducing unnecessary expenses while gaining more freedom, more time, and a stronger connection to the community around them. This is perhaps the greatest financial lesson Colombia offers. Affordable living is not simply about paying less. It is about discovering that many of the things people value most, good weather, fresh food, walkable neighborhoods, vibrant public spaces, and meaningful social interaction, are not necessarily the most expensive parts of everyday life. For many Americans accustomed to measuring success by income alone, that realization can become one of the most surprising aspects of living in Colombia. For all the financial advantages Colombia can offer, there is one subject that cannot be ignored: security. It is often the first question Americans ask before considering a move, and for good reason. Online discussions tend to fall into two extremes. Some people describe Colombia as if every street were controlled by crime, while others insist the country is perfectly safe and that every warning is outdated. Neither picture reflects reality. The truth is considerably more nuanced. Colombia has changed dramatically over the past 2 decades, investing heavily in infrastructure, tourism, business development, and urban renewal. Millions of Colombians go to work every morning, take public transportation, raise families, attend universities, and enjoy normal daily routines. Modern shopping centers, office districts, restaurants, and residential neighborhoods operate much like those in many large cities around the world. At the same time, crime has not disappeared. Petty theft, phone snatching, scams, and robberies remain concerns, particularly in busy urban environments where visitors can easily be identified. Criminal activity also varies enormously from one neighborhood to another. 2 districts located only a few miles apart may offer completely different levels of safety. making local knowledge one of the most valuable tools a newcomer can develop. Long-term foreign residents quickly learn that security in Colombia is less about living in fear and more about developing smart daily habits. Expensive watches are often left at home. Phones are not displayed carelessly while walking through unfamiliar streets. Backpacks remain closed in crowded transportation hubs. Ride-sharing services are verified before entering the vehicle. Cash is carried discreetly, and many residents avoid withdrawing large amounts of money from public ATMs without taking simple precautions. These habits are not signs that everyday life is dangerous. Instead, they become part of adapting to the local environment, just as people adjust to different weather, transportation systems, or cultural expectations when moving anywhere else in the world. Language also plays a much larger role than many newcomers initially expect. While English is becoming more common in tourist areas and among younger professionals, Spanish remains essential for building a comfortable long-term life. Speaking the local language affects almost every aspect of daily living. It makes renting an apartment easier, improves communication with neighbors, simplifies medical appointments, helps when dealing with government offices, and allows people to build genuine friendships beyond the international expat community. Many foreigners arrive believing they can rely entirely on translation apps or English-speaking services. Some manage for a while, particularly in the most international neighborhoods of Medellín. But over time, those who invest in learning Spanish often discover that their experience changes completely. Daily interactions become more natural. Bureaucratic processes become less intimidating. Opportunities expand. Most importantly, life begins to feel less like an extended vacation and more like belonging to a real community. Cultural adaptation extends far beyond language. Colombia has a different rhythm of life. Meals often last longer. Conversations tend to be warmer and more personal. Families remain deeply connected across generations. Weekends are frequently centered around gathering with relatives and friends rather than staying home. Music is present almost everywhere, from neighborhood cafes to city parks and local celebrations. At first, these differences can feel unfamiliar. Americans accustomed to highly structured schedules may notice that appointments occasionally begin later than expected. Government paperwork may require more patience. Administrative procedures sometimes involve multiple offices or additional documentation. Simple tasks that take minutes back home may require an afternoon. Yet, many foreign residents eventually view these inconveniences as a reasonable trade-off for a slower, more balanced lifestyle. There are practical considerations as well. Anyone planning to stay beyond a short visit should research visa options carefully and understand local tax regulations before relocating. Immigration policies evolve over time, and requirements differ depending on employment, retirement income, investment, or family circumstances. Seeking qualified legal and financial advice before making permanent decisions can prevent expensive mistakes later. Climate is another factor that surprises many newcomers. Unlike countries with dramatic seasonal changes, Colombia offers remarkable climate diversity based largely on altitude rather than latitude. Someone living in Bogotá experiences cool mornings throughout the year, while Medellín enjoys its famous eternal spring. Just a short flight away, Cartagena delivers tropical heat and Caribbean humidity every day. This variety allows residents to choose the environment that best matches their personal preferences without leaving the country. Ultimately, living successfully in Colombia requires more than finding inexpensive rent or beautiful scenery. It requires flexibility, curiosity, and a willingness to embrace a culture that operates differently from the one many Americans have always known. Those who arrive expecting Colombia to become a cheaper version of the United States often leave disappointed. Those who arrive ready to understand Colombia on its own terms frequently discover something much more valuable than lower prices. They discover a completely different way of living. So, is Colombia really a place where you can enjoy affordable luxury and a better quality of life in 2026? The answer depends far less on the country itself than on the expectations you bring with you. If your goal is to recreate every aspect of your American lifestyle while simply paying lower prices, you may find yourself disappointed. Imported products, luxury housing in the most popular neighborhoods, private transportation, international schools, and premium services can quickly reduce much of the financial advantage that initially attracted you. Colombia is not a loophole where every expense suddenly disappears, but if your definition of a better life includes spending less time commuting, enjoying a more comfortable climate, walking to neighborhood cafes, eating fresh food every day, meeting people in lively public spaces, and having more financial breathing room at the end of each month, then Colombia offers possibilities that are becoming increasingly difficult to find in many parts of the United States. Perhaps the greatest surprise is that quality of life is often built from ordinary moments rather than extraordinary ones. It is drinking fresh Colombian coffee while overlooking green mountains before starting your workday. It is finishing work and walking to a neighborhood bakery instead of sitting in rush hour traffic. It is taking a weekend trip to a colonial town without spending months planning or thousands of dollars on airfare. It is buying fresh fruit from a local market instead of relying entirely on processed food. It is seeing families gather in public parks, children playing outside, and cafes filled with conversation late into the evening. These moments may appear small individually, but together, they create a lifestyle that many newcomers find deeply rewarding. Of course, Colombia is not free from challenges. Security requires awareness. Bureaucracy sometimes demands patience. Learning Spanish is not optional for anyone hoping to build a long-term life. Income inequality remains visible, and adapting to a different culture requires humility rather than comparison. Some people arrive expecting paradise and leave frustrated because reality failed to match social media. Others arrive with an open mind and discover that the imperfections never outweigh the opportunities. There is also an important financial lesson hidden beneath the discussion of lower living costs. Many Americans spend years chasing higher salaries without questioning whether increasing income alone will improve their happiness. Colombia presents a different perspective. Instead of constantly earning more to afford the same lifestyle, many people choose to reduce unnecessary expenses while increasing the quality of their everyday experiences. More free time, more outdoor living, more community, more flexibility. These are benefits that rarely appear in cost of living calculators, but often become the deciding factors for people who choose to stay. That does not mean Colombia is the right destination for everyone. Some people will miss the convenience, predictability, and familiarity of life in the United States. Others may struggle with cultural differences or discover that being far from family is more difficult than expected. Relocating to another country is never simply a financial decision. It is an emotional one as well. Success depends not only on where you move, but on your willingness to adapt, learn, and embrace a different way of living. Perhaps that is why Colombia continues to attract people from around the world. Not because it promises a perfect life, but because it offers the possibility of designing a different one. As more Americans begin questioning rising housing costs, healthcare expenses, work-life balance, and the overall pace of modern life, Countries like Colombia are becoming part of a much larger conversation. The question is no longer, can I afford to live here? Instead, it is becoming, where can I build the kind of life I actually want? And maybe that is the real story. Colombia is not simply cheaper, it is different. Sometimes more challenging, often more rewarding, always more complex than the headlines suggest. If you approach it with realistic expectations, respect for the local culture, and a genuine willingness to adapt, you may discover that affordable luxury is not about living like a millionaire. It is about waking up every morning feeling that your money works for your life, instead of your life working only for your money. If you enjoyed this documentary and want to explore what everyday life is really like in countries around the world, from cost of living and healthcare to culture, safety, and quality of life, make sure to subscribe to Beyond America. Every week, we go beyond the headlines to show what it's actually like to live in the places people are increasingly choosing to call home. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.